we're going to wrap this up with the third of this afternoon's panels. And this section will be talking about the early adopters of AgTech. And I do want to remind you of a little questionnaire that you respond to on the back page of the program, the QR code. We have a new question for you. And this question, so after, and I'll repeat it at the end of this panel, but it's worth having a bit of a think about. So you take a firm grasp of your program and find the QR code. After hearing our panel sessions thus far, using one word, how do you now feel about overcoming your earlier challenges or barriers to AgTech adoption? So in other words, have you heard something this afternoon that has restored your faith in the take-up of this, or are you still concerned? So scan the QR code on the back of the event booklet to submit your answers. We've got some very interesting responses to the first one, and I'm sure we'll get some more interesting ones. So as I said, we are now focusing on the early adopters of AgTech, and to lead us through this discussion, we've assembled a very high-powered panel. If you could please welcome back to the stage Aaron and Keeley. Aaron, right in the middle there, he's changed seats, that's good. Aaron and Keeley's here. You can bang them together if you like, everybody. Big round of applause for Aaron. Ben Single from Single Agriculture, is to the far end. Big round of applause for Ben. Matt Barnes is with us from CQ Compost. And last but not least, Pat Lonergan to the Rural Services. How's the comfort factor on the couch for us? Everyone nice and 17? Beautiful. And to lead this discussion and probe our panel, please make welcome an old mate of mine, James Walker from Longreach. A quick note, many people in this room probably already know that James, fifth generation father and managing director of Camden Park Station at Longreach. James was awarded Australian Farmer of the Year for excellence in diversification in 2017. He created an organisation called Agrihive Farm Eco Digital Platform to tackle the crisis points in global food farming and agriculture. And it's fair to say that James, if it's worth having a crack at, James has either done it or is about to do it. Big welcome to James Walker, everybody.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks. I just thought I'd just start off just with a bit of background on our speakers up here today. So I've just got, I suppose to kick off, it's a great honour to be here, and what a wonderful event with all the exhibitors and all the participants, and especially school groups that are here. It's brilliant, and our last session is early adopters of AgTech, and I suppose it would be great to sort of look internally at where you think you are on the spectrum. So to kick off, I just thought, I'd see in the crowd, if you stand up in different stages, but who considers themselves an early adopter of technology or innovation? So if you could stand up, that'd be great. It's the last session, so we need to be a bit active. So yeah, so you can see here, I suppose, there's some early adopters there. They might take on the new, I suppose, smartphone or new innovation that comes out, and they're trialing them. So then you've got the, then I suppose you've got the rest of the bell curve, and then you've got the laggards at the end. So what we're trying to really fish out today is, I suppose, how that bell curve is constructed, and how people can really, I suppose, learn from a technology perspective, how to engage with the early adopters, because that'll flow through the rest of the bell curve. And I thought I'd kick off today with just introducing, I suppose, our panel. And we've got Ben Single at the end there from Single Agriculture. Single Agriculture recognises the need for site-specific weed detection to manage herbicide resistance and cost-effective weed control in a broadacre farming system. Single Agriculture over the last 10 years developed a single-shot drone-based weed detector sensor. So it's quite interesting today. What we've got is a lineup where we've got an actual AgTech developer and an early adopter in Pat. So Pat Lonergan is our next panelist, closest to me. But the single shot system allows for mapping of individual plants so weeds can be treated in a broadacre farming system. Used commercially on a single farm near Canberra more than 2 years ago. Single shot is capable of mapping 200 hectares an hour, consistently picking up weeds as little as 4 centimetres in size. So it's quite an impressive technology. So throwing to Pat now, Pat operates a contract spraying business between Capella and the Biennial Crossing. They operate, him and his family, operate 2 beef cattle properties near Claremont as well. Early adoption of technological solutions is a feature across both businesses. So we've got an early adopter here, which is brilliant. Their desire is to keep increasing efficiencies and reducing costs. So they want to keep up with technology and customer expectations, and Pat researched the available options for spot spraying for around 4 years before finding a solution to employ the business, which is single shot sensory. We've also got Matt Barnes here, who's quite a local from CQ Compost. He's got a staff of 7, 200 hectares of irrigated farmland. Matt uses crop stubble, pallets from mines, and a variety of other sources to produce compost. Matt often can sell upwards of 5,000 tonnes of compost every 6 weeks or thereabouts to other farmers in the district and abroad. So quite an impressive business there. We've also got Aaron Keeley, who's been introduced before, and I'll throw to Aaron in a bit. But I suppose when adopting AgTech, some key things to consider, and this is probably from our early adopters' point of view, is will it increase the number of units sold for that particular business? So your ag business, will it increase the kilos, the yield, I suppose the head sold or the yield per acre? Will it increase the price received per unit sold? So will it increase in terms of the value per unit you sell, whether it be kilo or tonnage? Will it cut the costs, or will it improve performance? Will it become increasingly important to the natural capital performance of your agricultural business? So what I'd like to do now is sort of throw over the panel, and I'd just like to, I suppose, get a bit of background on Aaron and what you've sort of developed and what you've sought out in terms of what you've been doing.
Thanks, James. So where do we start? Being a grower, producer, the idea of AgTech comes in having the conversation with other growers. So where the first idea came from was contracting. I was red centre pivot, and it was to understand the pressurising water and water as our most valuable asset, how we can utilise that better with the soil that we have. And on our property, we've got dark cracking clay, we've got red soils. So with that pivot, in conversation with growers, some growers put on 10 mil per cycle. I put on 23 mil per cycle, other growers put on 30 mil per cycle. So when you're driving up and down a paddock, you're like, well, how can we make this work better? What's our runoff? What's going into the soil? And with the fertiliser, where we can put it in the right place. So that led into getting, as a lot of growers have done, is putting soil moisture probes. You've got weather stations, EM surveys to understand your paddock. And from there, it expanded into having weather stations on a 600 acre property, having 5 weather stations to understand the variability, having water meters installed on each pump to understand where our water's going. And with this, it just continues to grow and grow, and your brain just keeps going, what can I do next? So out of that, we'll focus back on the red centre pivot. You can grow cotton, and this is one of the biggest issues that I've sort of found out is it's red soil. You can run a centre pivot around 30 degrees, the humidity cranks up, that soil can get to 54 degrees. So that crop of cotton will burn off, and so that's made that centre pivot now turn into an August plant cotton crop. or won't go any later than mid-September, end of September, because of the temperature in that pivot. So now I'll manage that differently. And then that goes into our water meter. So we were speaking earlier about breaking our fields, instead of being one whole farm, breaking our fields into separate operations, really. So the droughts made you think again. So if we've got 400 megs of water, well, where can I put that water to be best utilised on my property? So this project started out around 3-4 years ago and it's continued to grow. And the next idea comes in. Back with funding for these opportunities, with the Senate pivot was the biggest focus. And with a QFF grant, we did an efficiency on the Senate pivot, pumping efficiency, electricity efficiency, and out of that, replacing the pump and the motor was about a 45% more efficient Senate pivot from wear and tear of being 12 years old. So it's just looking at all in a different way, like using this technology to have better returns.
Yeah, so I suppose I understand a little bit more point of data. Sort of an early adopter's mindset and frame of mind is, all right, I've got a problem, I don't know what it is, so employ an enrolled specialist to come and help me actually provide some data to see how I can solve that problem. So that's what you do with QFF and the auditing and everything like that. So I think that's a brilliant trait, you know, to be able to seek that out, find a solution and act on it. In terms of follow-up and you know, dissemination of that, how have you found other farmers in your area or direct neighbours interacting with how you approached it, and have they adopted any of the things that you've done?
Well, I think a lot of growers, you know, they're looking into their soil moisture probes, they're using, they are working on it. Working with BLF, you do need someone from outside, but adopting it, I think it needs to be, when this project is, we're finalising it at the moment, to go out there to encourage other growers, and I think growers learn from growers. If a grower can show that it works, I think they'd be able to adopt it.
Yeah, certainly. So testimonials are quite important in that early adoption, that flow on, because ultimately what we're talking about starting is how do we improve the industry, how do we create more momentum with technology and uptake, and the dissemination of, I suppose, those innovations and how they work through case studies and testimonials are quite important, by the sounds of it.
Yeah, no, most definitely, Joe.
Yeah, absolutely. So just to move on, I suppose there's a direct relationship here between, I suppose, technology and early adoption here through Pat and Ben. And Ben, we'd just like to hear from you about your company, what you've designed, and you're the major shareholder of it. So it's your baby, what you've developed, and you feel all the cuts and nicks of building it. They call it the bleeding edge of technology and innovation, when you're actually feeling all the cuts and, you know, your bank balance is being affected by the uptake of your technology. So just give us a bit of background on what you've created, and then we'll throw to Pat about how he adopted it.
Yeah, thank you, James. So I've made a single shot in-house system. So it's a UAV-based weed detection system. So we go out in a broadacre environment and map weeds, and so we produce a weed map and spray to. So in a broadacre environment, in other environments. So we started out with not being happy with the technology that was available about 10 years ago, which is all boom-based camera systems. There's a number of issues that they have, which is just around their environment, around waste, dust, and cost of those situations. And it didn't suit what we wanted to do. We didn't want to get out of them what we wanted. And so we started, all right, well, we sit down, here's a scenario in which we could make the system work and do the performance we wanted, and we went back to the owner and about how we could find that. So from my background, I guess I'm a mechanical engineer. But I grew up on a property in Central New South Wales, seeing the situation. So I have enough information to understand the scenario on the property and the problems that my family faced in terms of operating that environment, but also enough technology information and knowledge to see how you can solve that. So we went down the road of building a sensor then that we bounced to UAV. So ultimately then we're competing with some of these other systems, and so it gives us a clear goal into here. So it end up mapping weeds that are small as the bottom of a Coke can from 8 meters up, and we get about 200 k's an hour out of the system. There's a whole heap of issues around processing all the data, making about 3 terabytes of data a day, which is enormous. With the full EVN, it takes about a week to try and upload that just from a single day, which is not a scenario that happens with servers and all the big data that they talk about. It's something we have to do. So we made a whole solution around processing it then and then on the system, and ultimately we spit out the Weemah, and that works with existing systems. So there's no give a map to someone that they might play their system a little bit to optimize it, but basically it just works as is.
Great, Ben, and it's a very impressive technology. Tell us a bit about, tell us how you actually got your first customer, outside of your own farm.
Yeah, so we had Peter Farrell, who was sort of outside of Moore, as our first customer. There's some knowledge there in terms of he was just very interested in some of the drone-based background, and he has a spray contracting service. So, and he knew my dad somewhat, and he was very interested in it. And to some extent, he just thought it was cool. And then we started seeing the numbers, and we did demonstrations. And we had an operation working with our properties. We did a demonstration. All right, we think we can make this work. So we're going to this commercial arrangement. Losing to on sell from where we met. But certainly getting enough information and demonstration and getting your head around exactly how it works and how you can make it work for yourself. There's a lot, and that's still certainly a big piece of trying to get the information out there. So we're a unique technology with no direct competitors about what we do, like representing these other food-based systems, but we don't have a direct competitor of what we have. So there's a lot of knowledge and to get across, and a lot of UAV you've seen today with lots of drone systems that do mapping to some extent, but we operate in very different manners with some of the things about uploading data. We don't do that, so we operate quite different to the scenarios, but we've got to tell it to access the environment.
Yeah, great. And so that's brilliant. So Pat, we'll throw to you now, and how did you find out about Ben, and how did you, a little bit about your operation, what you want to improve in it, how did you come across Ben and then say, right, we'll give this a crack?
Pro and I run a contract farming business based out of Compost there. We've been looking for technology to put on our spray rigs for spot spraying and trying to reduce the amount of chemical for our clients. Some of our clients were obviously suggesting to us that we needed to look to take on new technology, and we were obviously keen to do this. Something we've always done with our own 2 cattle properties with water monitoring stuff that we've had in place there for over 10 years, with monitoring waters and stuff. So we were looking at cameras for the sprayer. Went down that path. I spoke to a lot of people and I wasn't really happy with what I was seeing there. And Peter Farrell in Moore just happens to be a friend of ours, and he was involved with Ben and the signals, obviously. He had a contract for our business as well, and he had a machine that had cameras on it and said to me, don't go down that path sort of thing. And he was telling me about the drone, and so we sort of got connected there quite a few years ago when it first sort of come about, and we just kept in touch. And obviously as it was commercialised and started working, we were obviously sitting on the fence looking and talking to him on a regular basis. And Yeah, once it was clearly working and commercialised, well, yeah, we were sort of waiting to take the first one if we could, sort of thing, and put everything up and took a drone and ran it into our business. And it hasn't all been smooth sailing. It's been, we had some ups and downs, just trying to get the machine set up right to utilise the equipment. Just having compatible systems that are working. So we're obviously using our own machines, but we're also using the drone from a contract point of view as well. So we'll make for other farmers to put maps into their machines. And there's a bit of work behind the scenes, setting up fields and both for flight planning, but also for processing the data. And we've seen some pretty good results where we're quite commonly spot spraying only 20-30% of a paddock. So there's been some pretty significant savings there that we've been able to help our clients with from our work, as well as the guys that we've done contracting for. We've seen some really good savings, and the system's got a lot of advantages over having cameras on a bird. From simple things like weight and on the machine and dust. So cameras are really susceptible to ground height and things like that. So if you're working in contoured country, this is not affected by the camera is. So that's sort of where we've got to with it, and it's working well for us.
So Pat, tell me, what was the discussion like when you first turned up to your first client with the drones and said, forget about the tractors, we're going to give these a look?
Yeah, I think people weren't quite sure, whether it was going to be able to find the weeds or whether it was going to work. Obviously, our first clients were our spray contractor clients, so they were willing to give it a go. And we were sort of learning ourselves, and once you map a couple of paddocks, you get a bit of an idea. You first look at a paddock and think, oh yeah, that could be a spot spray, put the drone over it and process the map, and you think, well, there's a lot more weeds there than I thought there was, and you go and have a look in the air, it's picked up a hell of a lot more turning the blanket spray rather than spot spraying. And sometimes you look at paddocks and thought, oh, that might be a spot spray, and it turns out that it is, it just might be small patches there. Once they saw the results from a couple of spray jobs, like, they were convinced that it was the new camera, so to speak, and they enjoy it. They like what we're doing for them.
And that's great. As an early adopter, how valuable is that feedback? Back to Ben to say, Ben, we've got some issues with this, and then Ben's agility to be able to change and move the coding or the systems design and be able to accommodate what we're doing.
Yeah, well, we've been pretty lucky there. Ben's not trying to deal with 100 cameras. He's only got about 5 or 6 out there. So, there was obviously always a few teething issues with new stuff, but the response and the help that we were getting was very, very quick and very good. We got over those few little hurdles. In those early days, just trying to get the whole system up and running. And, it was nothing that we couldn't solve in a fairly timely manner anyway.
Yeah, brilliant. Thanks, Pat. And Matt, I might throw over you now. You've got the CQ Compost, and I suppose with your business, you're on either end. You're dealing with early adopters of what you're selling, and you've probably got a big client base of who you distribute to. But at the other end, you're trying to, as I understand, reduce the amount of time to actually process that material so it's ready for use. So you're looking for the new technologies to decrease that. I suppose for the benefit of the crowd, your clients, how do you interact with them? How many have you got for your business, and how do you interact with them to sort of, I suppose, take on your product?
I suppose we've been composting for nearly 20 years. We've had clients come and go. the client's probably not too much worried what the product is as long as it's a suitable product. They're not really worried about how it's made. So like I said, we've been doing this for nearly 20 years. When I first started composting, I wanted to have an automated aerated floor because I was always worried about staff and machinery and tractors and windrow turns. Because we didn't know enough, then we did end up going down the road of having windrow turners and tractors and staff and all that sort of fun stuff about and moving water, and it's just a very labour intensive position. And the composting industry is outside the agricultural industry. Most people don't realise, but there's a big push for composting to change how they make compost in the industrial composting industry. So everyone's going to what they call aerated floors. So they're very expensive, and they're suitable for a lot of population, and in your build-up area, you can make it work. Like these things are in millions of dollars. Like I know people spend $1 million building facilities on the Gold Coast to compost municipal waste. But obviously, FOGO, which most people don't know, that's just food scraps that are generated from a household. It's been in the cities for a long time, but it's happening in the country now. Like places like Dubbo and Central New South Wales has got a collection service for their FOGO. There's a few councils in Queensland starting to trial it. This is the thing that's coming with this carbon economy, that everyone's got to be more accountable where the organics end up. So we knew we had to change something, but we knew we didn't have $15 million to do it. An aerated floor or a fully blown system because we just didn't have the economy of scale. So we found a system that would work out of America. There was people in Australia having, we just could not find, like all these guys here, the common denominator is, you've got a problem, you've gone for a solution and you can't find it it's way out there at the moment. So we looked at buying stuff of people, but no one could automate it. And I couldn't make out any sense why they couldn't. With the farming background, you can aerate control your silo with grain. It's basically the same process, it's just a lot more hostile environment. So I couldn't see why that would not be a simple process. So I got some engineers and went down that path. And it was pretty frustrating on what was coming back, what I wanted to do. And by sheer accident, I was in Brisbane at a meeting in a course, and there was a guy from Emerald that I didn't even know lived in Emerald. And we happened to be at the pub, and I said what I wanted, and he said, I think I can help you. At breakfast the next morning, he had it on his phone and said, "Was this what we want?" I said, "Yeah, pretty much." So that relationship started with Tom from Stan, and that has enabled me to bring 2 ideas I had together to make something that really works. So basically, we've got a very basic system that could work for any council or any farm that wants to do composting. It doesn't involve any labour, it automates itself. It'll control its oxygen levels, it'll control its moisture, and if there's something I want to send a message to your phone, it is that simple. And that does not exist anywhere in the world unless you want to go and spend $15 million. So that's where we ended up in this thing that we built. We've had lots of issues with sensors, we're still having issues with sensors, but that's all. The system works fine, it's just trying to get something that's reliable. And so Tom's been a great help, and who would have thought that person was in Emerald. So I do a lot of agricultural stuff from a consultant. I see adoption of things, it's really what it comes down to. Someone really wants to do something, and then finding a solution, and it's got to have a benefit. So the benefit for us was we can now produce compost a lot cheaper without having to rely on human error. Basically, there's a smart device that Tom's made that makes all of the decisions. All we've got to do is put in the parameters that we want, and it does it itself. And it's cheap, and it looks cheap, and it's simple check. There's nothing hard about it. The hard part's been done by Tom, so in all that, then the councils, the Department of Environment sent out to that sponsored Lockyer Valley Council to do a trial. So we've got a trial at Lockyer Valley doing their photo, and it's been working unbelievably well. No one can believe that it's so simple and it works. And you can run it off the phone, so I can look at what's happening in Lockyer Valley in my phone. I've always said that I want to run a composting business from the harness, so now I'm halfway there.
Brilliant, brilliant, very good. And I think that's a really good distinction. You know, it's it seems like there's a common thread between the networks that you're amassing and the solutions you can find. So with Pat, the farm leading you down south, and with you, the Startup Catalyst mission, I think it was started through CHDC was it last year that you guys could actually connect. So you know, that's what the value in these conferences, and especially you know this AgTech21 is to actually network and find solutions together. But it's also the appreciative buyer looking for those solutions and then trying to seek those out. So it's a true credit to you and to build that. But I suppose what we really want is a few war stories up here on what's gone wrong with some of the technologies. I've got a software company, so you know I'm reverse it. You know, different I suppose different appetite to changing things and how you sort of get that through. And there's a lot of legacy different businesses and how that works. But so I suppose then from your point of view, how what sort of war stories have you got with some of your products and components and things, a lot of moving parts, I imagine.
Yeah, so I guess we've got two key components, I guess, for our sensor. We've got our mechanism that we generate the coordinates of the weeds, and then we've got the mechanism for actually detecting the weeds within the images. And the detecting the weeds within the images is quite innovative, but you can see it, you can process it, and it's quite data-driven, so it's quite, from that perspective, been quite straightforward. A lot of work, it's just a lot of time, and not just a scenario that kind of account for, but it's not being too bad. The hard part is certainly being in the detecting market. We've got a number of different sensors within this technology, within the sensor that all have to work together. They're all synchronized for very, very tight timing. And then so the war story that I certainly have was like, so we just have just a USB basically where we gather all the data when we're flying. And after quite a number of months, it turns out if you put a USB 3 cable next to a GPS cable, with the USB 3, it'll actually give it to you with GPS data. So it still works and it still looks like it works, but it'll just throw it out enough just to get it wrong. And it took us about 3 or 4 months to work out, but we just had one cable next to another cable, and that was just throwing us out completely. So it is absolutely critical. So it's just absolute learning about it and information is just absolutely painful. But one little thing just completely stop the whole thing. All pieces have to work for it to the whole sense up. The whole piece has to work. Yeah.
Yeah, brilliant. And so I suppose in terms of, sort of triggers for early adoption, all of us up here are probably early adopters and we're probably on the leading edge, so we feel all the cuts and bruises. From my point of view, I suppose, in terms of early adoption, you're always wanting to be, leading your business into a new level. So that's why you're always looking for that sort of that, I suppose that easy win, and if it's in the form of innovation and technology, it's really complementary. A lot of businesses don't have that view, but I suppose what motivates you individually as an individual panel to search out those solutions. I might throw you first, Matt. See you on the mic.
All right. I suppose I was fairly lucky. I knew that it was possible and it was doable. I just needed to find the right person, and you don't know what you don't know, I suppose, until you get there, and I think that's the story of AgTech, to be honest. Everyone, if you knew, I just knew that I knew what I knew that was possible, and that's why I kept hunting it down. Most farmers don't know what's out there, and bits of it, I don't know about AgTech, I know we're talking, I just don't know that out there. That's the hardest part for AgTech for me. You don't know what you don't know, so how do you find it? Well, it's a hard run. I was just lucky that I knew enough about the subject that I knew it was workable. I just had to find the right person and go around the corner, which was even more amazing. But that's basically what I said.
That's brilliant. It sounds like a few beers could have been shared as well. It's only 10 K. But we heard an acknowledgement from the crowd, so I might just throw to that crowd member for comment, because obviously it resonated quite well. I think it's Stephen Dummer up in the corner up there. But in the meantime, I might just throw to Aaron just to talk a little bit about what motivates him to adopt new technologies.
everyone's touched on it today. It's the support to motivate you. Well, what motivates me is the industry I'm in and the people around me. There is the AgTech out there, but it keeps coming back to the support around you. That you need. You can have a great idea, but you need someone to do it. Back to the war horse. Well, I have the ideas. Paul from PLF has to go and find it and get it on the dashboard, so that works really well. So I have the farming ideas. Paul would have the headaches. But it's having that support and the connection behind it, which is, it keeps coming up over and over again. And I think in agriculture, that's one of the biggest supports. You need support all around in everything we do. So it's,
Yeah, absolutely, no worries. So we might try to, thanks, Pete.
Thanks, James. It's Steve Dominic from the AgTech and Logistics Hub. I guess the reason why that resonated with me is because, you know, you don't know what you don't know. That's why the government and all of these different people are leaning into the AgTech and Logistics Hub and AgFrontier here in the Central Island. We need to be educating and communicating to the industry. We need to be making sure that industry knows or learns what's out there and what they can utilise. So I guess, you know, it just resonated with me. I think the AgTech and Logistics Hub is going to be something that all of Queensland is going to benefit from in the future. So yeah.
Right, yeah, good comments. And, you know, particularly in the regions, you know, these events are just critical. And so support for these events, and, you know, from the AgTech Logistics Hub, because it's a sort of a leader for the government and some corporates to engage with ag. So it's great to see you guys here and supporting this event, and, you know, may it long sort of live. And it's great to see the entrepreneur residents here as well. Alistair, there, who might introduce himself a bit later on to everyone, but yeah, it's critical. You know, we don't know what we don't know, and it's the visibility that we can sort of share or sort of give to others about the solutions out there, and communicating that. So I suppose we'll throw you, Pat. I suppose in the what drives you and what motivates you in early adoption, and were you the first bloke to, you know, take the dance card of the best looking girl on the floor, or were you sort of a leg out of the dance floor, or what was the go there?
I'm sort of always looking for ways to make our business more efficient, and, you know, there's efficiencies that we've gained from stuff we've done on our grazing properties to, you know, just reducing time and stuff from monitoring waters that we've had in place for a long time. You know, with the spraying side of things, you know, we like to think that our spraying, contract spraying operations is, you know, as efficient as it can be and offer the most possible value for our spray clients. And that was obviously one of the main reasons for trying to, you know, find some sort of way of reducing chemical. You know, there's cost in it. It also affects the soil and the health of the soil and those types of things. So, yeah, we just like to have an efficient operation and something that's, you know, that can benefit others as well that we're working for.
And so, Pat, have you always been an early adopter? And also, have you seen the benefits out of the direct benefits out of early adoption? Are you getting more clients because they're hearing what the good work that you're doing, or is that sort of evolving?
I think it's still you know, growing. We've had a lot of interest in it. We've picked up, you know, a fair bit of contract work with the drone itself, so not just for our own clients, but other people that have shown interest in it, and but they've been able to benefit from it as well. So yeah, that's what we've got.
That's great. That's brilliant. Well, Pete, I think we might take some questions from the floor now, if that's okay. And I think they're assembling some beverages up the back. So yeah, if there's any questions, we'd love to take some for the panel to finish the day up.
And don't feel any pressure that you're holding people back from joining the party at all. Just if you've got a question, feel free to ask. Yes, over back here. they've got a very nice lounge thing happening here too, James, that's why I thought, on the way.
Okay, we've already had a bit. I'd just like to go back, Rob Mellor from the University of Southern Queensland. I'd like to go back, one of the things that we know and that you've all expressed quite eloquently is that you start with a problem. And one of the things that we also know is that exactly as Steve said, the first thing is that you recognise that you have a problem. I'm particularly interested in this idea of what kind of support you need early on. You've talked about events like this. What other kind of support would be most beneficial? Because often what we see, of course, is the support comes after you guys. You've done the early adoption and then people say, oh, this is a good idea, and all the government support and all kinds of other support go to the people that come after you. What are the kinds of real support things that would make it better for you?
Who wants to handle that first? I think, from my point of view, it's, I think, just to kick things off, I think it's to know there's a platform there that you can go to and ask questions and seek the right resources. It's all about timing, so in terms of engaging with the right resource and the right institution or organisation, I think it's critical to have that there, that support structure there, but not necessarily you go and interact with it all the time. But it's good to have it available. Do you guys have any comments on that at all?
Yeah, I have to agree very strongly with James on that. Timing is everything. The opportunity and the timing is, if it's not right for you at that time, it doesn't matter how good it is, you've got to want to do it, and it's all about timing, unfortunately.
Yeah, they talk about the notion of entrepreneurial mongrel. So if the resources aren't there, you can find a solution anyway, and it just depends on the conviction you've got, I suppose, to track it down and take it on. And you can see here today, these guys have had that. They've found a problem with what they're doing and wanting more efficiencies, and they've sorted them out and found them. But it would have been made a lot easier if they could reach out to CHDC and the Startup Catalyst Mission assisted with that with you, Matt, and a few of the other sort of QFF reviewers so I think the ecosystem is starting to build, and I think that it can only be great and will only sort of compound the rate of uptake with adoption. So so I hope that helps you. Comment, Rob, is there anything, did we miss anything else? These fellas are probably missing a beer, but would you like to comment?
Yeah, probably to touch on that, James. So I've done a lot of little funding. So at the moment, the project's going through FBA. I've done a Cotton Australia funding, gone through QFF and FBA, and that platform there, having a platform to be able to go out with the idea that all growers could understand, to be able to go forward instead of getting 10,000, 15,000, 25,000, being able to put the project forward to be able to, to get the 50 straight up and get that idea done in, as these guys have done in 6 months. As a grower, it's been over a period of time for myself, but I'm running them ideas and they'll be put out in a report through FBA early next year. But it's been a long process, but another idea follows on from that idea as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And just an insight that I had, I'll hold the beers afterwards, but yeah, AgFrontier, we might actually close that. Or is there a question?
Well, in fact, the Australian government is here and they are here to help. And Adrian's going to tell you how you can get that sort of help.
Brilliant. I've got a pen if you've got the check. That'll be brilliant.
Thanks. Sorry, thanks for the opportunity. Adrian Roll, Central Queensland Manager for Oz Industry. I'll probably just be a bit self-indulgent first. I come from a Mets background. I've only been in the role since February, and I love the ag sector. you're also open about what you're doing, and that's fantastic, and you're sharing the innovation. So you can't sell or commercialise what you're doing if you're not going to talk about it. And I've learned that from the net sector, who are all very secretive. They don't want to tell anyone what they're doing. So the ag sector is great because you all get up there and talk about it. So that's fantastic. There is, as Peter highlighted, there is funding from the Australian federal government and obviously the Queensland government as well. I'm the Central Queensland representative, happy to talk to you at any stage of your development about what might be available. There's obviously 4 or 5 businesses here that have gone through the Accelerate Commercialisation process to develop their product, and that is available as an on an ongoing basis. There's support for research, not only the R&D tax incentive, but also the Innovation Connections program as well. So then there is also at the moment the Northern Australia Development Program grants available as well, which open tomorrow, and applications are the first round due on the 10th of December. So there's 2 grants in that range from $50,000 up to $2 million match funding, or the larger industry transformation from $3 million up to $10 million. So I'm around tonight if you want to have a chat about that, or grab my card to call me at some other stage, or CHDC do have my details if you want to get in contact. But it's, I know you might wait and think you might not be ready yet. It's an ongoing thing, so that kind of the penny drops at some stage when you've got a project that you're looking to commercialise or to grow or diversify. And that's where we can look at what funding or support, business support is available from either the Queensland or federal government.
Absolutely, and Liz Alexander's here as well from Oz Industry. Does a compellingly great job previously with CHDC and works really closely with them. But I think also, to your point, reach out to CHDC. One thing about these forums is some of the best people that I suppose skilled in AgTech and in the actual I suppose the topics of the day are the actual organisers, and they don't get an opportunity to, I suppose, engage with the crowd in the speaking role. So I'd just like to acknowledge CHDC and the skills that they've got and what they're doing here in Apple is extremely amazing. So I'd like to give them by no means they're wallflowers, they are amazing sort of ninja people that can get things done. So that's great. But what we might do now is throw back to the organisers and wrap up our session, unless there's another question.
Yeah, sorry, I'll talk a quick one just on the back of AgTech, and I thought I'd make a very quick comment. I'll come up here too. So my name's Alfred, and I run an AgTech venture capital fund. So we've been investing in AgTech for the last 18 months. I spent most of the last 10 years up in Asia, but I just wanted to say on the back of this that a crucial bit that's been missing in the Australian startup ecosystem has been venture capital. We haven't historically been a venture capital nation. We've been more of a sort of risk-off invested in property, which has meant it's been extremely hard for entrepreneurs to commercialise their ideas here in Australia. And that, as an AgTech founder myself, I've been through the journey of capital raising, of setting up and founding it. But I suppose what I wanted to share was that dynamic is changing. So, we're in the process of setting up a new funds, and Asian Ventures have been proactive, listening more and more. In the next 12 to 18 months, there'll be 2 or 3 other venture funds who will be focused in the agri-food innovation space, because agri-food technology as an investment thematic is incredible. People are seeing the going concern and the opportunities from the investment side. You've got a huge global population that's only getting bigger. Obviously, the whole carbon, short bottom line, ESG, all these kind of investment things that are flowing through an agri-food innovation is at the top of the list. So I guess what I want to share with the entrepreneurs out there and the innovators is to kind of keep fighting, keep moving forward, because the investment landscape in Australia is changing, and support drives encouragement, and more wins on the board means that more people will come forward with their ideas, and the more commercialisation that we can get, everything from regional development, job growth, all these kind of things, and the ripple effect's incredible. So, we're at a cusp now in Australia from the venture community in terms of driving investment into there. So it's going to be a really exciting time for innovators and entrepreneurs, and especially in the agri-food space. So I just wanted to share that.
Brilliant, thanks, Al. And I think in particular, right with the venture capital side of things, it's been a very, they've been very unsophisticated sort of investors, not knowing how to interact with agriculture, and so the landscape has been traditional funding through banks and grants and things like that, and at the moment it's extraordinary the capital that's available in agriculture. So if anyone is wanting to take up early adoption technology, you've got the likes of Suncorp and other banks here today through Agtech21, and there's a few others. QRI's got some innovation grants that are available. So I'd definitely reach out to explore that a little bit more. But with 83 million people more in the world every year and 200,000, that equates to 200,000 a day, and we'll be fed, sheltered, and clothed. So so we've got a big task to undertake that and to combat that. So I'm finishing. Thanks very much for the panel, and thanks for all your questions.
Thank you very much, James, and there's a little token of our appreciation for your efforts in that last session. Just while we're waiting for, you can stay there if you like. No one ever thinks twice about that. We did ask you to find the reminder, we did ask you to use the QR code, and as a result of what you heard in the panel sessions this afternoon, use one word to describe how you now think about overcoming challenges or barriers to adopting AgTech. So do that. It's an interesting exercise and provides an interesting bit of feedback for the organisers. We also asked our young tech bursary students to get around this event and get their Ag21 passport stamped, and they did that, and they went into the draw for a prize, and this prize, and I'm now going to draw out one lucky winner. No, that's impossible. I could not do that. Olivia Gillies from Vermont State Park. Okay. Now look, we are actually in the home stretch. We have covered a lot of ground, one way or the other, in the field, here and around the trade exhibits, and of course during the panel sessions. From my point of view, an awful lot of heavy lifting goes into organising events like this to make them tick. We do thank the people who tuned in from Weemah and Mackay and all points north, southeast and west. But to wrap up the show and give some credit where it's due, I'm delighted to welcome CHDC CEO Lonergan. Make it well.
Because I really like to thank Pete. Yeah, no, I'd like to thank you. And we know how you always have been a great supporter of our region, and we really like to thank you for your ongoing support. Cassie has a nice gift for you, and thank you for your thanks. And I would also like to thank Mayor Hayes for the opening this morning, and obviously our amazing partners. It's because we have those amazing partners. I think we're close to 55, 60 partners across the day that we're able to organize these kind of events. And I'll go quickly through them. Our diamond partner, the local buying foundation, Ruby partners, Elvis and James Cook Uni, our commercialization partners, I4 Connect and also industry. The panel partners, Field Solutions Group and Vanderfield VNet, our young tech partners, Central Queensland University and Telstra. The Sapphire partners, Meat and Livestock Australia and Suncorp. And I would also like to thank the Department of Agriculture and Fisheries, because of them we are able to host the field days at the former ag college. It's really a really great relationship that we have with them, not just here in Central Highlands, but across Central Queensland. I also would like to thank our demonstration trade partners and the business and industry partners and all their logos. They're just too many to go through, but you find the logos
either slideshow or in the booklet. I also like to thank Roses and Beans who did the catering for today. I think they did an amazing job, and you see them later when they serve the dinner. Lastly, I think it's really important to understand that this is not just an event to be organized like a week before. It takes like a serious amount of time, so we spend like half a year having meetings with our advisory committee, thinking about what is the tone of voice, what kind of presentations do we want to have, what are the topics that we discuss in the panels. And I would like to call our AgTech committee on stage, because they put a lot of their free time and evenings into this project. So if I collapse and well, you know, we're all the committees, so you can make your way forward anyway. So Renee Anderson, Alicia Dunbar, Monique Evans, Aaron Keeley, Jess Crawford, Josie and Andrew Bate, Ned Barnes, Ronald Roberts, Tom Wyatt, Nigel Burnett, Richard Weston, and Sarah Sinai. So if they can come up, and if you would join me in thanking them for their efforts. They've done an amazing job, and all the time that they put in organizing this event, it's extremely appreciated. And I think it goes a few small presents for you.
Thank you, Nigel. We really appreciate it. Thank you, Tom, for all that spare time. Thank you.
And it was already mentioned, I would love to thank the CHDC team. I'm the CEO of CHDC, and I take no credit at all for this event. I just get told, here's your shirt to wear that day, and here's the run sheet with the text. So it's all about the team. But in particularly Cassie Turner. She has done an awesome job. She's most of you have spoken to her either in person or via email. She wants to try herself just a little pocket rocket. I think that's what I'm saying. So thank you so much, Cassie. We really appreciate all the effort that you put in. Now the trade displays are open until 8 p.m. And we encourage you to use this opportunity to go around and visit those if you haven't done it already. And I'll just look at the guys in the room, sexy stuff. If you could help us move some of the second half of the room, if you could take the chairs out so we have a little bit more space for the dinner, that would be great. So I love to thank you for your attendance. Looking forward to see you at the next AgTech. And I think we're going into dinner. Is that ready to be served? It is. Thank you very much. And that is provided by our panel partner, Field Solutions. So thank you again, and I'll see you at the next AgTech.
Sonia just wants to make one last presentation to our very significant part of the team.
Pete thinks these are for him. I'd just like to make a very special thank you for someone who's done most of the heavy lifting for this event. And I can imagine that most of you would have touched base with her at some point in time. And that's the pocket rocket here, Cassie Turner. She managed the project, and her project leadership has been outstanding. And I wanted to thank her for not just doing her job, but going above and beyond with passion and energy and a real commitment to agriculture and AgTech. And that's the kind of people that we want to cultivate in our industry. If you could all put your hands together for Cassie. Thank you.
And that, ladies and gentlemen, is that. Enjoy the evening. Thanks for coming, and travel safe home.
Looks so good in one.